Our old friend Mark Schlabach has updated his too early. Let's see, what does he call it? Way too early. We're not as early as we were, Mark. College football rankings updated way too early, top 25, and he's updated it for spring ball. I don't think there's been a ton of changes. Here's what he had to say about the Dogs. They were ranked third coming into this thing and are ranked third now. He says, spring update. After finally ending a 41-year drought without a national championship, Georgia spent the spring rebuilding its historically good defense, which might have at least 4 players selected in the first round of the NFL draft. That's Thursday, by the way. Defensive linemen such as Zion Logue, Tyron Ingram Dawkins, who looked really good, Chaz Chambliss, Warren Brinson, and Nazir Stackhouse might play dramatically bigger roles in 2022. At least the Bulldogs bring back defensive tackle Jalen Carter, who might be even better than the first rounders who left. There's plenty of firepower coming back on offense, especially if one-time LSU transfer Eric Gilbert continues to progress after missing all of last season because of personal reasons. All-American tight end Brock Bowers missed a spring after going shoulder surgery, but he should be ready by the start of preseason camp. We're not as far. We are, let's see, May, June, July, uh, August, March, February, half a we're almost as close to the start of camp as we are to the last time Georgia played football. So we're not that far away from Georgia's fall camp in Athens. Media Days is not so far away. It continues to be an exciting time to in this league as well as at Georgia. I'm not sure some of the players now. Chaz Chambliss. I'm curious to watch as time goes on here. But one thing, anyway, I don't want to get too bogged down in some of this stuff. Mark still got the Dogs at number 3 overall, behind Alabama and Ohio State. So it goes Bama, Ohio State, Georgia, Utah, who visits the Gators to open the season. Texas A&M is at 5. The 6 is Notre Dame. NC State at 7, ticking up just a little bit. Michigan State at 10, and then you've got Michigan, who was at the 5, going down to 9. Oklahoma State at 10. So, uh, you know, I think if you want to make the argument that NC State and Notre Dame are overrated by Mark here, I think you could make that argument. By how much? I don't know. I mean, I think Mark is ahead of a lot of people with NC State, but do you think Georgia's the 3? I think the group he's got here at 1, 2, 3 is pretty much going to be a consensus thing. That's what Las Vegas thinks. Mark is ahead of the curve on Utah, um, probably Notre Dame, but definitely NC State. I think most people are going to have NC State as the number 2 behind Clemson in that division coming into the season. Of course, NC State won the division last year. I don't know if that makes a difference this year. This is what we do. We rank things. We get ready for seasons, um, and I think it's pretty. The top 3, I'm not going to have really any argument with. The question is going to be if the Dogs can get past everybody on their schedule, of which, the only team they are actually scheduled to play that is in Mark's top 25 is Kentucky at 22, Tennessee at 24, and the Oregon Ducks are at 16. He has this to say about Oregon: new Ducks coach Dan Lanning, the former defensive coordinator at Georgia, has spent the spring installing new schemes on both sides of the ball. Bo Nix, who started 3 seasons at Auburn, has been working with the number 1 offense. He will continue to buy a couple people that we don't care about. The Ducks add some beef up front on defense. Um, and he talks about a couple of players that are 300 plus pound players. I don't want to get the names wrong. Sam Tiamani, Tiamani, and also Gonzalez. I can't see where Gonzalez's first name is, but that's okay. This Georgia team will take on Oregon. They're going to be 15-point favorite. And then Tennessee, of course, is in here. The Gators are not in here. Utah starting the season with Florida is kind of one of the most interesting things to me. I mean, Texas A&M being as a 5, I don't think there's any one season. I mean, just this, the Georgia season we saw here that celebrated in DAWGSTRUCTION. Make sure you're picking that up. We're running out of books for this run of books. We're about to go into the 5th printing, so make sure that you pick one up. You can click it down below. If Texas A&M is going to have its version of DAWGSTRUCTION printed, um, it's put up or shut up time. I mean, it's time for Texas A&M to do something on a big scale. I mean, I believe this is their 10th season in the league, and um, it's time, right? I mean, Missouri has won the East, and if Texas A&M is supposed to be a top 5 team, you would think at some stage they can win the West. A lot of people have won the West, not named Texas A&M. A lot of people have won the West, not named Alabama. So, you know, Tennessee, Texas A&M, there are some times when you want to see guys move forward. There's been way too many 4-loss seasons for me for Texas A&M. The other thing that Mark's got here about Utah, he's jumped them up from 7, his most recent one 7 to 4. A lot of people are going to try to figure out who is the number 4 nationally versus Georgia, uh, Alabama, and Ohio State. I don't know the answer to that. I don't know if anybody knows the answer to that right now. It's a tricky question, but um, I think this is probably right. I'm not sure if I would not have Georgia number 1. I'm not sure if I would have them behind Ohio State. But when you look at what Ohio State brings back, you're returning arguably the best quarterback in college football. I would not make that argument necessarily, but I think you could see that he could be the best quarterback in college football by the time it's said and done. Um, but this Ohio State team's real issue is defensively. And, in order to win the national championship, they are probably going to have to beat Georgia or Alabama, probably going to have to beat one of those two to win it. And both of those teams have some serious firepower on offense. Most teams that are really good have serious firepower on offense. So I think that's the question for Ohio State. I don't know what the question is with Alabama. You're returning the Heisman Trophy winning quarterback. You're adding guys like Jermaine Burton and Jahmyr Gibbs, who was at Georgia Tech, the running back, who's a very good running back, who I think has really turned people's eyes open at Alabama this spring. If you are adding players like that, that will lead to more explosion for the Tide. Doesn't mean they didn't lose people. An elite tackle in Evan Neal. They lost Jameson Williams. They lost their running backs. Excuse me, excuse me, I said that wrong. The wide receivers that were so good for them. They also lost a very good running back in Brian Robinson. So you lose Michie, you lose Williams, you lose Hall. You lose Slade Bolton, who was not overly explosive necessarily, but was a very productive running back, wide receiver for them. Get those two if he's for Alabama. But this is a good look from Mark at the top 25 teams in theory coming into the season. How will it shake out? Will that be the top 25 when the season gets here? Or better yet, will it be the top 25 when the season ends?